Welcome back. You're watching Political Exchange. My guest today is the President of Malawi, Joyce Banda, who has invited the private sector to come and join her government in the program of upliftment of the Malawian people. President Banda, before the break we spoke about the priority areas that you have come up. You've had your dialogue, including all the partners. You've identified certain priority areas. Exactly. Take us through, for example, the issue around infrastructure. Now we know that the SADC community in Maputo had just given the green light for this massive rollout plan. Infrastructure is central to getting things done in Malawi. What are the opportunities for investors around infrastructure, Madam President, and how would you, create an enabling environment for them to partner with you?
I think infrastructure, as far as I'm concerned, is key. If we are going to develop our agriculture sector, we need to address issues of infrastructure first. If we are going to develop our tourism sector, it's infrastructure first. We believe that we need to develop our infrastructure in country and beyond our borders. So there is a huge potential to invest in the infrastructure in rail line that on the Sena corridor, which is the gateway to Beira, and then investment in rail line on our gateway to Nakara. There's also potential in investing in rail and road infrastructure, but also in improving the status of our airports, both Chireka and Kamuzu International Airport.
Madam President, one of the big things, of course, is traditionally African countries struggle with access to capital markets. And, of course, there's a lot of ambition, particularly around economic growth, given the continent's, growth potential. What are you saying as President? Where is the money going to come from to match this ambition for economic growth for Malawi?
If you're talking about the infrastructure sector, then it is our hope that we will attract. And it is looking positive already that we are attracting huge potential investors into Malawi, complete with capital. But also, we are also going to be benefiting a lot from the China-Africa cooperation. So some of those projects are going to be implemented under that cooperation. But also, we have received a lot of interest expressed by the private sector in the region to come and invest in Malawi in the infrastructure sector, as well as in the tourism sector.
Okay, let's talk tourism. Malawi is known worldwide for its beautiful, natural areas. It's been identified as one of your growth areas. But given the fact, Madam President, that we have the Eurozone crisis, people who traditionally see Malawi as a place with less money in their pockets, what is Malawi doing to attract, investors from countries who are themselves going through, hard times financially and economically?
Before we talk about Europe and other countries, I am a firm believer that this century is going to be about Africa. This is Africa's century, both in terms of as a destination for investment, but also I believe that it's going to be Africa for Africa. So when I talk about tourism, I'm targeting the South African tourists.
So we from Johannesburg must come to Malawi.
So those from Johannesburg must come to Malawi. Those from Malawi must go to Zambia. So there's so much that we can do within Africa, for Africa. And in any case, this is the continent that is showing promise more than any other parts of the world right now.
Now, in your speech that you've just made at Nedbank, you spoke about the fact that much of Africa's population is a rural population. And of course, agriculture is a critical issue. You also at the United Nations singled out agribusiness as an area of growth. Madam President, just sketch for us, what are the prospects around agriculture in Malawi, and how can the private sector come in and partner with government?
In Malawi, this far, we've very much depended on tea and tobacco. We truly believe that time has come for us to diversify. And we have the best climate and best soil in Malawi. We're looking at the agricultural sector as a sector where we can create thousands of jobs, both in terms of growing legumes, cotton and cassava, but also in value adding and commercialization. So it is in the area of value adding and commercialization that we are sincerely hoping that we, and also livestock development, where we are hoping that we can get investors from beyond our borders to come and invest in Malawi.
Now, in your speech, you speak about the importance of not just focusing on extracting raw materials from Africa and taking it elsewhere, and you've just spoken about value adding. In South Africa, we use the term beneficiation. We want beneficiation. How important, Madam President, is the question of value adding, so that we're not just a continent where investors and even other countries come and extract our resources and go off, and we don't actually create, you know, complete products that we ourselves can export?
The problem is that when we export raw materials overseas, we are exporting our jobs. And I truly believe that time has come for us to add value. But when we are talking about our mining sector, then I also believe that those of you who have been mining in your countries for ages, we in Malawi who have just discovered how rich we are, can draw lessons from the mistakes or the strengths that you had. And so therefore we have decided as a nation that we are not going to exploit our mines, our minerals, without first drawing up a mining code to ensure that we protect that industry. We want in the future people to look back and say that our government protected us when our resources have been depleted. Malawi should still look back and say, well, in spite of that, we benefited as a nation.
Now, you've spoken a lot about this enabling environment, liberalizing the economy, creating space for business to come in. And of course, one of the ways in which people come in is they are often exploiting some of the weaknesses that African countries have in terms of capacity, skills, governance, and so on. If we take, for example, the mining sector, Madam President, how are you going to ensure that that relationship is an equal relationship? In South Africa, we know we have mining charters, but companies have been very tardy in coming to the party on, you know, social issues around sorting out workers. How are you going to prevent making similar mistakes in a place like Malawi?
That's exactly what I said. That's what I said, that we believe that we can draw lessons from those countries that have come before us. Our mining sector was not well developed. We are just doing that now. So we therefore have asked friends to help us draw up an appropriate mining code, and so that we ensure that we protect Malawians, we protect the resources that belong to Malawi. We want Malawians to look back and say we benefited from this mining sector. So it is for us to do the best that we can do now, to draw up a mining code that controls what we have, and to ensure that Malawians come first in extracting and benefiting from those resources.
Madam President, thank you so very much for your time. Good luck with your programs in Malawi. That was the President of Malawi, Joyce Banda. That's it, where we have to leave it for Political Exchange. I'm Karima Brown. Goodbye.